guys, Tracy here with the first layout that I'm going to make with my Everybody Talks kit, which is the Scraptastic kit for September. I have a couple of options here and I'm going to go with the American Girl photos. I'm just having a look at some of the embellishments and that's going to help me choose which photo I'm going to use first. There's lots of pinks in this kit that I would like to get used up on this. I want to take my first choice of pinks for this layout and then I'm sure I'll use more pinks through the month, but that's kind of my rationale for picking the American Girl photo first. So I'm just having a look at all the pattern paper and cardstock, and I'm thinking about using this cardstock as my base and then putting this pattern paper over top of it with a tiny bit of a frame. And then I thought about using this one as my background. It would certainly make a funkier layout, but I'm going to go back to the pinstriped photo or the pinstriped paper, which is Amy Tangerine from the Cut and Paste collection, the new Amy Tangerine, and I'm going to end up not using that cardstock as the background. Thought about matting everything in this really cool diagonal stripe, but it's a little bit too busy. So then I went for this, it's like an inky navy blue. It's kind of almost black, almost blue. And that's just not black enough for me, so now I'm going into back to the kit and I'm getting a piece of, this is a piece of Simple Stories paper from the I Heart Summer collection, and it also came in the kit. Everything is from the kit except I will point out a couple of things that are from my stash. This vellum is from my stash. It might be the only thing. And it's like a sparkly, it has little pieces of glitter embedded in it, and I got it at a local paper store. Thought about flipping over that pattern paper for more of a white look that would really make the pink pattern papers that I want to choose kind of pop out. And I was going to do a combination of creams and white based pattern papers, but it was looking a little funny. I couldn't get it to look the way I wanted it to, so I'm going to flip her back over and use that pink striped paper again. Before I go too much further, I'm going to attach my photos down because I know that I want them to be here. I'm just kind of sort of matting them on that 4x6 journaling card that came in the kit, and that's from my Mind's Eye. I want my edges of my vellum to have some texture to them, so I'm using my ruler to tear them. And while I like the design of them being the other way around, the way I had them at first, I decided to turn them this way because it tells more of a story. The pictures go chronologically from left to right when I arrange them this way. They do look better the other way, but the picture of the two girls in front of the store before it opened was the first picture we took, and the other ones were taken in sequence. So this is the way I decided to do it. I'm thinking about using that floral paper just because I don't think I would use such a floral paper on anything other than a doll themed layout. I don't typically use that kind of pretty flower paper, but I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to cut it to size and get all ready to scrapbook it, and then I'm going to change my mind. I felt like it needed another color. So I'm just kind of throwing that in there for balance just to see what that color would look like, but not going to use it. I'm going to change my mind a whole lot here about the papers. So then I thought maybe that arrow could add another color in. I'm trying to bring in some blue or that greeny teal aqua color, whatever you call that. And I'm just not liking any of these combinations of patterns the way that I have them. This checkered paper is from last month's kit. I was just bringing it in to see if it would make a good grounding paper. And then I finally decided to replace that floral paper with the chevron, and I like that much, much better. So once I made that switch, everything came together quite a bit easier. I'm going to mat it with that diagonal stripe paper. The diagonal stripe is by Crate Paper from the Flea Market collection. That's the new Maggie Holmes. So I'm just going to stick that down and then I'll trim off the extra. And I'm going to have that kind of just go right off the page on the right side there. So now that chevron adds in the blue color that I was looking for, and it's an ombre effect, so it's gradual. It's not like an obvious addition of the blue color or green or whatever it is. I'm a little colorblind. I was thinking about using that scallop circle in gold, and it's a little bright and shiny, so I was going to tone it down by layering it with a doily. I'm not going to actually end up doing that because I found this circle piece that I love. So I'm going to make a cluster using the globe, the gold label, and the circle thing. I'm going to put another cluster over by where the love and the rose is, but it's not going to be either of those things. Yes, so here's where I discover some of these pre-made layered embellishments that come in the Maggie Holmes Flea Market ephemera pack. And I have one up in the top left-hand corner and one in the bottom right-hand corner. But I knew that I wanted to use one of those on a future layout too. So what I'm thinking about doing here is making my own to match with the one that goes on the top. So I'm pulling out a couple of different things that might go together. I've noticed that the pre-made ones in the Maggie Holmes collection come with two different sized borders, and then it has a couple of banners as well. So I'm just going to take my double embossed dotted lace border punch by EK Success, and I'm going to punch myself a length of scallops here. And I like these scallops, they're a really nice size. It's my favorite scalloped border punch. And I'm just using a piece of the flea market paper from Crepe Paper. And so I'm cutting myself a longer length than what I really need because I'm not sure how big it's going to be at this point. And now I'm just looking for another piece of paper. I'm going to take another piece of that flea market paper, this time the one that has the hearts on it. And it's the back side of the diagonal that I've already used. And I'm using a smaller border punch. This is the Stampin' Up! Scallop punch. And so these make two really subtle layers because they're so close in color. They're both fairly neutral. And I'm going to move those so that they're overlapping eventually. I'm just kind of playing around with the placement here. And that's how I'm going to make this border, this little embellishment. And I'm just kind of thinking about it here. I slowed it down for you guys so that I could talk in a little bit more detail about how I'm doing the layering. And so I want it to fit in such a way that that flower is still going to fit behind the layers of the pre-made layered embellishment. Now I'm going to just run it through my sewing machine, and I've been just kind of holding it in place with my hands there. Nothing too fancy. And then I realized that the tension got changed on my sewing machine over the time. It's been a while since I've used it because it wasn't working properly. I had to open it up and clean it. And so the stitching is all kind of weird because the tension wasn't right. So I'm just looking it up. I forgot to press pause, so sorry guys. I just looked up the tension and changed it. I didn't know if I needed to make the tension stronger or smaller. So took care of that and ran it through again. And it actually looks kind of cool with the wonky sewing on it. I'm just flipping up the layers a little bit. I'm going to put some pop dots in there later, and you'll be able to see the pop dots in one of the photos at the very end. And now I'm just going to trim it down so that it looks more like the Maggie Holmes ones because they're all the same length at the top. And I think that looks quite a lot like the other ones that came in the set. And so now I have, because two come in the set, I'm using one of the pre-made ones on this layout, and I'll still have one of the other pre-made ones for the next layout. Got to get my safety pin here to get the goop out of the top of my glossy accents, and then I'm going to just put that sequin in place. The little tiny silver sequins were the perfect size for putting on that camera lens. I'm going to add that flower now and add the embellishment that I just made, and now I'm going to make another embellishment right here. And so when I make embellishments, I like layered embellishments, I like to have kind of something neutral and large and maybe circle-ish in the background if it's going to be a square type of an embellishment, like with a square or rectangle shape to it, like this label, then I like to have a circle behind it. And if it's a circular embellishment, then I like to have a rectangle behind it. So I just stuck that little circle in behind, and I layered it so it went under the vellum and also hung out from under the vellum so that it kind of added a bit more detail. I'm just putting Boston 2013 here. And I wrote it with a slick writer so that it would not smear, because it's a vellum. That's a vellum label that came in the Maggie Holmes ephemera pack. And then that globe, I really wanted to include the globe because we were traveling. And I'm just kind of fooling around with getting the bow so it's not going to completely cover up Boston. And now I'm going to embellish this bow with some enamel dots. So that's what that looks like. And it just kind of brings some pink into the bow so it's not just a black and white embellishment. And I'm going to keep fussing with this because I want to be able to see the word Boston at the very least. I don't have to see the 20 part of 2013. And so I'm going to end up cutting off the bottom of that globe so that I can just position the bow tie whatever way I want. I'm going to use some glossy accents to put that in place. And then while the glossy accents is still wet, I'm just going to stick the bottom of that globe back in place. So there we go. So now you get to see those two clusters of embellishment. And now if you wanted to do even more layering here, yeah, I could have added these 2 layers, but I just decided that that was enough for me. Whenever I use a lot of photos, I like to go a little bit easier on the embellishment, just so that, because you've got enough to look at in the details of the photos. So I decided not to, but if this was another kind of a layout, maybe a single photo layout, I might have included those other 2 layers. So now I'm just going to put my layers in place, just as I had kind of been planning all along. So I'm just kind of putting them down where they were. And now I need to bring something dark up to the top corner because there's lots of black all over the rest of the layout. So I just took another strip of that diagonal stripe paper that's from the flea market collection, and I'm going to put that right there. First I'm going to cut this off, and I did a bad job of cutting it. It's kind of crooked and uneven, so I decided to just slice off a little tiny bit of the whole thing to make it even, and then I didn't do a good job of that either. So I'm going to have to take the whole thing off, move it over a little bit. I don't know if this ever happens to you guys too, but this happens to me a lot where I try to fix something and I end up making it worse. So there, I just cut it by hand again, and I did a better job that time. So now I'm going to just, oops, sorry about my hat there. Gonna put that little black and white, black and cream, I guess it is, piece of paper up at the top there. And now I'm just checking the date. I thought it was the 29th that we went to the American Girl store, but it ended up being the 30th. So I'm glad I checked my calendar. And I'm going to put that on with my ATG and just put it in place. And now one of the last things I'm going to do is just stick some dimensional adhesive. I really like the Stampin' Up! Dimensional adhesive, the foam dots, because they are a little bit thinner than some of the other dimensional adhesive that I buy at Michael's, and so it's not as severe of a dimension. You can always use 2 of them if you want lots of dimension. So now I'm having a look at my letters and some of the other stickers that came in the kit. And so these are Pebbles stickers that came in the kit. And I'm going to put my title up here, kind of tucked in with and layered among this top pre-made layered embellishment that I have. And so my title is going to be First In, because we were the first ones in the store that morning, and our girls were really excited to be I think they were expecting there to be like a big long lineup of people to get in. It's just a regular Friday. It wasn't like a special day at the store or anything. But they were really, really excited to be the first ones in the store. We were there about 10 minutes early, so we had to wait, and they were peeking in the windows. So I'm just going to add one more sticker to this cluster, and those are my Mind's Eye label stickers there. And so I added that arrow, and it just points to the girls in front of the window. And now I'm going to use this paper, which is, oh, I can't remember if that's Amy Tangerine or flea market paper, but I'm going to do some typing on it. And I thought about using some tags from some of those little tabs from the Project Life kit, and then I thought about using these crepe paper tabs, but I decided to just do my typing on paper instead of on tabs. So I almost took something from my stash, but then I decided not to, and I just used some paper from the kit to do my typing on. Yeah, and I think that's my mind's eye paper from the cut and paste collection. So I'm just outlining with a .005 pen, which is the smallest pen that I have, the smallest width. And I'm just going to put my little captions so that they're hanging off the edge of the photo. That I found that they were getting lost when I put them right in the photo, so I just put them hanging off so that they kind of stood out a little bit more. I'm going to use my tiny attacher to make it look like they're stapled in place. And that is it, although I did forget to put the buttons on, and so have a look at the photos. I sprinkled a cluster of 3 buttons here and a cluster of 3 buttons down in the other cluster. So you're going to get to see some of the details here, and then you'll get to see some of the photos. These pictures were taken at the Natick American Girl store, so I just wanted to give a shout out to Gina and her daughter who have been watching my videos from nearby, somewhere around Natick or the Boston area, and they were nice enough to pop into my Facebook and wish me well when I was not making videos because I was feeling unwell. So thanks so much, guys, for checking in on me, and for everybody else who left me nice messages and well wishes on Facebook and Instagram and here on YouTube. I really missed scrapbooking while I was away, and it was really nice to see that scrapbooking seemed to miss me too. So thanks so much, everybody, and have a really great scrappy week.